Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 17 of Sights on Sinnoh, the Diamond and Pearl anime podcast, covering the Diamond and Pearl series of the Pokemon anime, as we head over towards Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. We're coming to the Switch later this year. With me today is Manny. Manny, how are you doing?
Doing good, Will. How are you?
Doing alright. It's been a hot weekend out here, and I
Yeah.
really wish I could get to the pool or the beach or something, but maybe that'll be next weekend.
Yeah. For those listeners, Will and I are both from California. Looks like it's about to be in the hundreds this
Oh,
week. So,
jeez. Don't remind me.
yeah. I mean, by the time this episode is out, hopefully it's not as hot. Episode is out and it's hot. Please stay indoors. Keep yourselves nice and refreshed, and plenty of water, and keep your animals refreshed as well because they get hot too.
Yeah, don't take them outside because the pavement can get a lot hotter than you think, especially if you're wearing shoes and they aren't.
Yes, and unlike in this episode, we can run Suicune for help. So
Unfortunately, that is not the case, though. I'm also. Jeez, okay. So, this episode is titled Drifloon on the Wind, and there's a Suicune in it.
yeah,
We're talking about episode 28 of Diamond and Pearl. I'm just gonna jump into the blurb. This is a lot of things, and I'm not sure if
Mhm.
any of them are the correct thing that it should be. But the blurb
Yeah.
reads, on the way to Eterna City, our heroes visit a Pokemon Center where they meet young Paige and her big sister Marnie, the daughters of the local nurse Joy. Ash and his pals get their first good look at Drifloon. Marnie has three, which she uses to help her deliver lunch to her father, while Paige takes the gang to meet Pokemon in the surrounding forest. Paige also reveals that she and Marnie have a secret friend, none other than the legendary Suicune. So,
Yes,
there's a lot in here.
yeah, and I'm just gonna point out that that was not Suicune. That was a Giraffaric cosplaying as a Suicune
Oh, okay.
because that Suicune had one long neck. I don't know what was going on with the artist there, but yeah, it looked way out of proportion.
Yeah, we see this Suicune later on, and if you're listening to this and you're like, wait, I'm listening to Gen 4 podcast, right? Yes, you are. But for some reason, this episode, which incorporates the Valley Windworks, a a an area or a location in Sinnoh that's very specific to some events in the game, and ties in Drifloon, which is nice and makes sense for the location, also tries to bring in Suicune and this Nurse Joy family, which to me seems very odd.
Yeah, I wonder if there was anything like specific going on during that time period. Maybe that's why they added Suicune to that episode. But
You
I
know,
think yeah, because in Kalos we see Moltres as well, right? But they
mhm.
actually use Moltres as well in that episode.
Oh, cool. And I do know Moltres is in X and Y after you beat the game,
Oh,
but
okay.
Suicune
Yeah.
I don't think appears at all in Diamond and Pearl or Platinum.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense for Moltres then.
Yeah, there's like some reasoning there at least. Uh, but as far as I can tell, looking up the closest relation to why Suicune might even be here is because of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the other Gen 4 games, which come later on after Diamond and Pearl. But
Oh, okay.
this episode aired in 2007, and
And
Heart Gold
what
and Soul Silver didn't come around until 2009.
that is that only in terms of US?
That's for Japan.
Oh, for Japan. Oh, okay. Well,
So I am very
yeah,
baffled as to why they decided to do
yeah.
this for the episode.
Pokemon used confusion and it was super effective.
Yeah, that it was, and that's like the thing we're focusing on, but this also kind of introduces a concept of Nurse Joy's being a characters that appear throughout the series. And I think this is the first time we see them actually have a family with little versions that look exactly like Nurse Joy but as children.
Yeah, and it's interesting because as we learn their actual like full name is Paige and Marnie, and they both share the middle name Francis, Lynette, Joy. And they got me wondering if Lynette is actually that Joy's maiden name, or if the husband took Joy's last name.
Yeah, that's exactly what came up to mind for me. Or that's what came to mind for me as well, because I'm assuming he took her last name because otherwise all these other Joys would also have to have married into a family that had the last name Joy, and I think that
Yeah,
would be insane.
it could be that this episode kind of told us that the Joys are actually members of a cult, and they just recruit people,
Potentially.
change up their
Uh,
hairstyle, and tell them, "Oh, your name's
yeah.
Joy now."
They have the dominant features, the dominant genes in any relationship, and immediately take over when they have children.
Yeah, we need a show based on the Joys and the Jennies.
The Joys and the yeah, you call it J&J or something.
Yeah, we need that lore.
But this does introduce us to the two young characters as Manny mentioned, Marnie and what's her
Paige.
name?
Paige.
Paige. Yes. Who Marnie's fine. Paige sucks. Like
Yeah, she's a little
she is
rampager.
she goes around and just causes chaos by wanting to do everything that the adults are doing,
Mm-hmm.
and hits Ash with a broom at the beginning of this episode when she thinks he's breaking into the house. But she is the one who is put in charge of going to feed the wild animals outside the Pokemon Center. And Ash comes along with her as like, to make sure she's safe. And she is like, "Oh, yay, we fed all the all the Pokemon. Let's stop by and see if we can visit Suicune." And Ash is like, "What? Like, what are you Suicune?" Like he immediately knows what it is.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny because she's like, "Oh, I can't tell you what it is," and then seconds later, it's like, "Oh, it's Suicune." Like, I thought you
Yeah.
couldn't tell her, but she's a little girl, so that's like a
Mhm.
typical, like, I guess if she's 6, the little 6-year-old. But man, I agree with you. This little girl was just something, man. And I don't know if the
Mhm.
voice acting also went with it because wow, she just came out to me. She came out like really, really annoying and stubborn,
God,
and
yeah, it was
yeah, it just
it was a pain to sit through every time she had a line.
yeah, and that cold opening was just something.
It was a weird moment for sure.
Yeah.
And like just trying to put together a plot of what happens in this episode. Um, Marnie and Paige both have these Drifloon, but Paige is the older one and has more Drifloon, so they can actually carry her because presumably she's heavier. And their dad accidentally forgot his lunch as he goes off to work at the Valley Windworks, which is a location in the games,
Okay.
and that kind of gives us a geographical point for where they are.
Mm-hmm.
The So she takes the lunch and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go deliver it to Dad." And she hangs onto her three drift balloon and floats over, like hundreds of feet in the sky over to Valley Windworks. How the
Yeah.
heck does she have the arm strength and stamina to hold on to those balloons for like 10 minutes?
I don't think you should question it because, as we see later on, she ran from the mountains all the way to
Oh my.
Suicune in like the blink of an eye. So she's pretty strong, I guess.
She has like superhuman strength, apparently.
Yeah,
It comes with the joy genes.
yeah,
Yeah,
those boy jeans.
because if you think about it for like more than 2 seconds, you're like, no, her arms would be so incredibly sore after just like a minute of holding up her body weight. Um, so this is
Yeah,
just like a cute idea, but also kind of dark if you put any time into thinking about how this would work.
yeah, and we see the same thing with Ash as well too. So I guess we're just supposed to accept that and not
This,
really question it.
yeah, they are just like, this is the logic. This is how Drifloon work apparently, and
Yeah,
we're just gonna go along with it. But as Marnie heads out to deliver the lunch, this is where we have Ash and wait, no, as Paige goes and deliver the lunch. Wait, no. Is it Marnie? Yeah, it's
it's
Marnie goes
Marnie.
to
Yeah,
deliver
Marnie
the
said,
lunch. Paige, the little sister, it takes Ash through the forest to feed the Pokemon and goes to this like mysterious lake where she tries to call for Suicune, but Suicune doesn't come out because it's a jerk. And then we cut back to
Marnie.
Marnie
Yeah,
arriving at the Valley Windworks where they're attacked, where her and her dad are attacked by Team
Team
Rocket
Rocket.
because they're trying to steal
Yeah,
Ampharos, I think.
yeah. They're trying to steal the Ampharos because the boss is scared of the dark, and Meowth wants him to have a nightlight.
Yes,
Comfortable.
of
Yeah.
course. This is exactly the solution
Meowth
to that
always
problem.
thinking about Giovanni. You
You
gotta
know,
love
he's
that.
very considerate in that way.
Yes, you gotta love that. He's the just the example of how cats are when they're very affectionate to their owners.
Truly loyal and
Yeah.
in all the
And
right ways.
these are always cool, because his imagination just runs wild, and the ways that he comes up with, oh, why do we need this specific Pokemon for Giovanni? It's always a cool thing because it's like uh his own canon. It's just I always enjoy those moments.
Yeah, I would like it more if it were a new Pokemon that they've never seen before, which is why my mind kind of glosses over these moments more often. Because if they're about an older Pokemon, I'm like, why didn't you think of that back then? Because they've definitely seen a lot of these Pokemon in the past, which makes it a
Yeah,
little weird. But
yeah, I'm sure they did one before. I think they
mhm,
used it like for a lighthouse or
yeah,
something
I
like
don't know if
that.
they were trying to steal that one, but at some point they definitely were trying to steal an Ampharos. But here, it probably very much like it did their first time trying to steal one. It goes awry as it uses thunder and makes them blast off very quickly. They're just like,
Yeah,
all right, we're out of the picture. Team Rocket did their thing,
yeah. It was just like, oh, here's Team Rocket. Okay,
and
that was
and
it.
goodbye.
Yeah,
And the resulting explosion damages part of the Windworks, which causes a power outage. And that means over at the Nurse Joy home slash Pokemon Center, they have the power go out and are trying to figure out what's going on.
and one moment that just made me laugh so hard when Marnie gets there. Her dad is like, "Oh, I better take you home because there's a storm coming." And she turns, she's like, "Really?" And then you just see like the storm clouds coming out, being like, "Yes, there's a storm." Coming." I thought that was really funny timing. It was just, it was unexpected. Probably the only good thing about this episode.
I mean, I guess if she's hanging on to the Drifloon like that, she can't really turn her head. So maybe.
Yeah, that's true. But I just thought the timing
Hmm.
of how she turns her head is like, really, and the clouds just
Really?
come out of nowhere. Yeah,
uh, that's a nice little moment there. And Nurse Joy is like, oh, okay, something's wrong. I'm gonna go over to the Windworks and see what's happening. So she jumps on her bike, and Paige just being impatient as always is like, I'm gonna go check out what's going on too by calling her Drifloon to carry her over, but Pikachu's like, nope, you have to stay here. They said you don't go, and he tries to hold her down, but both of them end up getting taken away by a strong wind, just as Ash, Dawn, and Brock run back to see what's happening there. So they've been alone for less than 1 minute, and they've already lost one child.
Yeah. It just furthers my theory that there's a cult of joys because this little girl is brainwashed into copying everything Marnie says
Oh
and does.
no.
The fact that she wants to be just like her big sister and won't take no for an answer. It's just like, come on, little girl, please. I mean, we've all been there, right? When we were little kids, we didn't want to sit around and do nothing or pay attention. But yeah, I mean, this character just, jeez. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, like it just keeps going still, and um they trying to figure out what happens. They end up meeting again, so Ash and his friends, and then there's Joy. I think they go to the Windworks.
Yeah, I can't remember because they probably did because Ash goes on the 3 Drifloon.
Yeah, because we know that there's a moment where the dad fixes the Windworks. He's like figures it out and has Ampharos kind of jumpstart it, and they run to the power plant and they ask like, "Have you seen Paige?" And they're like, "No, why?" It's like, "Oh, she took off on her Drifloon," and Nurse Joy is not like nearly as angry as I thought she would be with that.
Yeah, she was probably like, "Oh, just another day again."
Typical Paige.
Yeah, she's a real page turner.
Oh man. Marnie's like, oh, I'm gonna go look for Paige. So she takes out all 3 of her Drifloons from their Pokeballs, but then her mom and dad are like, no, it's too dangerous, don't go. And in like a moment of instinct or adrenaline, Ash just grabs onto the Drifloon and takes off. And they're like, Ash, no.
Yeah, because we see that after mistaking him for a crook, H takes fondly to Ash.
Mm-hmm.
Him like, oh, would you like to go give Pokemon cookies with me? And then the secret place where Suicune was. So I think it
She
was
trusts
just
him pretty
more,
quickly.
yeah, it was more Ash being like, well, hey, you know, like we connected, so I should be the one to go after her.
Mm-hmm. He immediately feels concerned about her and is like, all right, I'm gonna go find her, and makes a risky move with these Drifloon. And eventually it takes them over to where Paige landed somehow. I don't understand how, but it just works out, and he finds Paige and Pikachu in her Drifloon, and everyone else decides to go follow him using the car. So they all jump in a car and drive off after Ash. But they get to a cliff where it's blocked by a bunch of rocks. And they're like, oh, well, we'd have to go all the way around to the mountain to like get to where Paige might be. I don't think they know where Ash is at this point because it's dark, stormy, and like Ash flew way up ahead of them, so I don't know what their plan is exactly.
Yeah, I think they were just assuming, oh, Ash will probably be there by the time we get there.
Yeah.
Or if not, they probably just forgot about Ash. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go find him now.
Yeah, they're like, Ash, you're not helping. I mean, like maybe he's keeping her safe, but there's a lot of assumptions going on there. So at the same time, Ash finds Marty and they take shelter as it's raining outside. Or Ash finds Paige, sorry, and they're inside like a tree trunk, staying dry. And then he like kind of gives her a pep talk about like not being scared, and also, hey, your family cares for you, so don't do this stuff. And then they start trying to figure out how to get back. And back with the family who is trying to get around the rocks, Marnie's like, I gotta go do something, you guys go on ahead, as the dad uses Ampharos to kind of clear a path for them. And they just let her go. They're like, all right, she's she's not running towards danger or using Drifloon, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah, and for a family that didn't want their smallest one to go somewhere, you would think they would be like, "Hey, your sister's missing. You should probably stay with us too, just in case."
Yeah.
But they're just like, "Yeah, go do you." And as we see, she runs at the speed of light and is there at her hideout in a second.
She runs so fast down this mountain over to the Pokemon Center that they drove from
Yeah.
and gets to the Misty Lake that Paige showed Ash earlier and tries to get Suicune to come out and help them. And it doesn't, like, there's no response. So Marnie, like, kind of talks to herself, and it gets to the point where she says, "Oh, I need to be the one to, um, be the one
Good.
to help my sister." And
Yeah.
that's when Suicune shows up. I was like, "What?"
Yeah. But I like the name that she gave it. She's like, "Oh, you're like I think it was you're the guardian of the North Wind."
Yes, and
Something
that's
like
actually accurate to the games, which I always
Oh,
thought
is
was
it?
kind of weird. Yeah, because it's like a water type, but they associate it a lot
Uh-huh.
with the North Wind,
Oh,
kind of
okay.
like a spirit of it. But
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, that's interesting to bring it up.
That's cool. Yeah, because I didn't play Crystal, so I wouldn't know. I thought that was like kind of like
An
a
original
reference as
thing.
to no, kind of like a reference as to what the original artist Suicune after the Japanese lore was what I was assuming. I thought that was a really
Oh,
cool.
interesting.
That was a really cool thing that they added. It's like, yeah, you're the guardian of the North Wind. Please help me. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Right, because it's like, oh, my sister was taken by the wind, so maybe he'll be able to, Suicune will be
Yeah.
able to find it using the wind. And Ash's Pokédex does, like, register Suicune, and the entry says, Suicune, the Aurora Pokemon. It travels the world and purifies water wherever it goes, sailing on the North Wind.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't pay. I paid attention to the wrong Pokédex entry then because they did the
The drip on
Ghastly
it.
when they did no the Ghastly one when they were like, oh, it's if high winds come, they'll take away the Ghastly. It's like this is probably gonna be important.
Wait,
Well, I
what?
mean, yeah, when you know how they go in the caves and you see the Ghastlies coming out or the Pokemon Center, the
Oh,
Ghastlies come out.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Wait,
they do the Dex entry, and it finishes off with high winds are known to take this Pokemon flying, and then
is that why they even had Ghastly?
I'm assuming it just like tied in with the whole concept of the wind and the storm and
That's so
Drifloon.
weird though, because
Yeah,
the association I immediately had was, oh, this Pokemon Center is abandoned, so there's ghost Pokemon living here, which we've seen before. But it isn't. It's just old, but there's still like people living here, and none of them mention the Ghastly.
yeah, or the Swinub either. The Swinub isn't mentioned; it's just
Oh
shown.
yeah. I don't know
So
what's
I,
happening at this Pokemon Center. Maybe they're
well, I
all
mean,
ghosts. Maybe that's what we're trying to get here.
yeah, well, we know that they get fed cookies, so it could be the case where, like, hey, we know these people will help us. If we get injured, we can just come to them, and then when we're done, we'll just leave. Which is what I'm assuming the Ghastly were doing.
Maybe it's
But
Paige. She just like keeps feeding everyone food and they don't go away. So now they
yeah,
just have all these
yeah,
wild
so
Pokemon.
it's like, hey, we told you not to feed these animals, and they keep coming. Yeah, let's
Look
go
what
with
you
Paige.
did,
'Cause,
Paige. Look what you did.
yeah, we're tired of you, Paige.
And that's how they
Gonna
got rid
get
of
kicked
her.
out of the cult.
Going back to the story here, we see Ash and Paige trying to cross a ravine on like a log or something. And I mean, like Ash, you just wait. Like you don't need to cross. Like just go somewhere else, or like use the Drifloon or something. But they immediately like fall, and out of nowhere, Marnie shows up riding Suicune to catch them before they can hit the ground,
Yeah, because
and she saves the day.
And Suicune as well travels at the speed of light. But
Yes. Oh,
go
the
with
speed of
your.
wind.
Oh yeah, the speed of wind. Go with your question. I'm assuming didn't use a drift loom because then Suicune would have just gone there for nothing. Be like, oh, you guys saved yourselves. Why am I here?
Like,
Oh,
never talk to me again.
yeah. Like I thought you said you could do it.
Yeah. And it works out. They they're like saved, and moments later the rest of the family comes down the road and sees them, and Paige and Marnie like talk about Suicune saving them, and people are like, "What? Suicune?" And Ash is like, "Yeah, they're telling the truth. Like it saved us." But then they turn around and it's gone because Suicune is Batman secretly. So
Yeah.
they just walk away, and there's like a narration that's like, it's something about like the favorite legendary Suicune, and it's like, what? Why? What? Uh,
Yeah.
it's
But
the weirdest introduction of this Pokemon after not seeing it for like 4 seasons.
yeah. Oh, and also it has a little run in with Team Rocket as well.
Yeah, and then we get like a post-credit scene that's basically Team Rocket walking down a forest, and kind of sad that they got blasted off so early this episode. But they see Suicune chilling on a cliff, and they're immediately like, "Oh, that's a legendary. Let's go catch it." And Suicune just Aurora beams them away, and that's it. So,
Um, the only takeaway from all of that, was Dawn knowing what Suicune was.
yes, that's
And
true. She
again, yes,
does
I
recognize
will
it.
say that I love that she knows her. I guess we'll just say her general knowledge of Pokemon. She's
Mm-hmm.
not like, oh, I don't really know what Pokemon are. She's knows her stuff. I mean, she knows, I guess, the entire layout of Sinnoh as well.
She
When we
feels
see,
like someone who actually lives in the Pokemon world.
yeah, she knows, yeah, and she knows her region. And I
Mm-hmm.
like that she was like upset, like, oh man, I missed out on seeing Suicune. Comes in as like, hey, don't worry, you'll get your chance. You know, we always see a legendary in the movies. Yeah,
There's always the movies, Don.
yeah. There's always the movies done. They're not canon, but legendaries are legendaries. It counts.
Yeah, well, that's also what the season kind of comes into play, because later on we do see Lucario, and Ash knows what it is. And the only time we've seen Lucario before is in the Mystery of Mew movie.
Very true.
Okay, the quote as I just pulled up for this that the narrator says is, "Wouldn't you like to be rescued by one of the greatest legends of the Pokemon world?" As Ash and his friends go back to the Pokemon Center. And to me that's just such a weird choice. Like, why is Suicune so special all of a sudden, and why is it here in Sinnoh?
Yeah, and why would I want to risk my life to be
Yeah.
saved by a legendary? I'd rather
Like,
just be walking and encounter it like that instead.
yeah. Like, very specifically, he says rescue, but I would rather
Yeah,
meet than be in a situation where I need to be rescued.
yes. I'd rather be safe where there's nothing around me that can cause possible danger. Thank you very much, Mr. Narrator, sir.
Yeah. All right, narrator, keep going. So that's that. But this is a weird episode to say the least.
Yeah, it
It
was.
mentions Valley Windworks, and there's no Team Galactic there, unlike in the games. But there is Drifloon, which is kind of a recurring fun mechanic in the games, where you can find one every Friday, I believe.
Oh, okay.
In front of the Valley Windworks around the evening. Or it might just be a one-time encounter. I can't remember exactly, but that's most likely the reference there. But yeah, they do take out Team Galactic from being present, and they replace it with Suicune for some reason. But what would you rate episode 28, Drifloon on the Wind?
Oh, that's easy. Yeah, that's easy. I'm gonna give it a 2. I'm sorry, but
Wow. Okay.
it, if this was one of those filler episodes that most anime fans would say is the worst of like in general for anime, you get me? Like there are
Mhm.
those filler episodes that are just like, we didn't need that episode. And this episode I felt wasn't needed at all in general, even just to fill time.
Yeah.
It was so I'm I'm not big on focusing on the animation aspect,
Mhm.
but there were so many things wrong with the art and the animation. And I mentioned the long neck Suicune, but there was also when the power went out, they focused on Brock and his neck, a darker version, to signify that the obviously it's dark because there's no power. But his head was like 2 times bigger than his neck, and his face
Oh,
was
really?
yellow. Yeah, his face was yellow for some reason, and it just
Weird.
felt. Yeah, it felt weird. It wasn't his head wasn't even centered. It looked like it was off to the side, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" So yeah, just for the story, the fact that everything just happened so fast. It's like, okay, here's A, B, C, and we got to D. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it just wasn't
It's
good. So I'm gonna give it a 2.
it's a mess. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and that 2 is me being generous. So
there's literally no point in watching this episode, which is so
yeah,
weird to say
this
because
is one
we
of yeah,
get we get this like Nurse Joy lore. We get a new Pokemon Drifloon. We get a in-game location of Valley Windworks, and we get Suicune.
and I found it weird how H and Marnie pronounced it Suicune, not
Oh,
Suicune.
really?
Yeah,
I didn't notice that.
this is definitely an episode you can skip.
Yeah,
Not
it's very
yeah,
skippable.
it's not needed, and it's very very forgettable.
It's like it feels so weird that it would have those four things that I mentioned and be so bad.
Yeah,
You would think like one of those would save it.
and coming off from Dawn's first win,
Mhm.
this is the. I guess they just didn't know what to do. They're like, "Hey, what are we gonna do next week? I don't know. Just come up with something." Like, okay,
Yeah, that's basically it. So I'll give it like a 3 because we get rid of Paige.
yeah,
But yeah, those are my thoughts on this episode. If you haven't watched it, you're fine. It's unless you want like uh a something to laugh at, maybe you can watch this with friends. But it's really not worth your time, I'd say. But that brings us to our next episode. Unless you have some final thoughts.
I was just gonna say I didn't watch this up because of how bad this episode just was for me. But because I'm always curious as to see the differences, I'll probably watch it. Hopefully, they actually did a good job in it. But
I would be fascinated if they like
yeah,
had to redo the translation here to because it was so different. But yeah, if you
yeah,
know how it turns out, definitely let us know.
yeah.
So, moving on to episode 29, The Champ Twins. The blurb reads, Ash and his friends have come across a newsworthy diversion. Two notorious Pokemon trainers who have won 16 battles in a row, attracting the attention of Rhonda the reporter and her Sinnoh Now news team. Ash wants to battle these champ twins, Brian and Ryan, but they only have tag battles. So while the cameras are rolling, Ash and Dawn team up to battle Brian's Krokna, Ryan's Quilava using Turtwig and Piplup.
And we start off this episode. Oh my god, I love the way this. I complained about the cold opening, but I love this cold opening. This cold opening was just. It just. Oh man. Just
It's
put me in
just
such a good. It put me in such a good mood after watching that horrible episode. It was so
I
funny.
don't think we
Piplup.
even saw Piplup in the last episode.
No, no other Pokemons were used. I feel if Piplup was there, Piplup would have made the episode more enjoyable.
Would have done something. But yeah, this
Yeah.
one starts off with a cold open, as Manny mentioned, with Turtwig and Piplup trying to both use
Yep.
moves but blocking each other.
Yeah, they're just going at it. We'll find out later why.
It's interesting because we get a more of this like lore of Sinnoh, I guess, as we see that Dawn knows this news show that this reporter person or personality is from. And it's like, oh, Sinnoh now, yeah, that famous TV show that always is on air or something. So we get to see some of that, and this is going to be a character that comes on later on. They're kind of just like a I don't know, generic news reporter, but kind of also wants to get like the big news highlight or the big like footage for TV and ratings and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
kind of like the. She definitely reminded me of the news reporter in the Hoenn games. Where
Yes,
yeah, where like
the
every
ones who keep
time,
battling.
yeah, every time you encounter them, like their Pokemon level up.
Yeah, and it's like a cute double battle, which is kind of the theme of this episode.
Yeah, and they ask you to like a few encouraging words.
Right, they're like, give us a comment or a quote or something.
Yeah, just like the randomest phrase ever, or like if you were like really into like, oh, Grovyle is awesome. Yeah, I kind of like I like that that was what I immediately thought of the Hoenn game.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, they don't really come back in Diamond and Pearl, and so this is kind of an anime original thing. But they're here looking for the news crew is here looking for these two trainers that we mentioned in the opening, who have been winning all these battles in a tag battle format, which is basically a double battle, but there's two trainers versus two other trainers.
Yeah, and this was what did they say? This was like a training camp or something?
Yeah, there like for some reason there's a Pokemon training camp here, and that there's like that's why these two twins are here who are really good at battling. Um, apparently, like it's I don't really get the point of the camp. Like I guess it kind of explains why the news crews here, but it's really just to establish these are strong trainers that keep winning and have beaten 17 other trainers here to win. Um,
Yeah.
and
I'm
as
guessing it
our
was
Ash is immediately like motivated to go and fight them.
yeah. I'm guessing it was just like a regular, like hey, we'll teach you the fundamentals of battling. But those two twins were like causing a real stir and were like gaining a lot of attention. So, Ash being a battler, that's his best way of improving. I was like, yeah, I'd like to take them on.
And we have a funny sequence of him and Brock and Dawn trying to find them by like crossing a bridge, and on the way there they keep finding Pokemon that have been knocked out from their
Oh yeah.
battles. There's like one that just flies from nowhere, and then its trainers coming behind it, and they're like, and they like gasp and they keep going.
Yeah, the Nuzleaf that just falls out of the sky and onto the bridge.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, he's dead.
Like, whoa, yeah, I was like, whoa, where did you come from?
And then eventually they find their way to the two twins, and they're like, yeah, we're the ones who just won 16 matches in a row. So come battle us if you want to get the 17th win. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. But he says the twins are like, we only do tag battles. So this is where Dawn's like, what are tag battles? And Brock explains, tag battles are where two trainers go up against two other trainers using one Pokemon each. So it's just a double battle, but it's one person on each, or it's two people on each side. I think Dawn is just like, oh, I'll join you, Ash, right? And
Yeah,
I think
just
Ash is like, are you sure?
yeah, it was more like his response was more like I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's kind of
'Cause he was a bit hesitant.
right. So my assumption is here he was going to go with Brock, even
Yes,
though
and that's
Brock hasn't really battled much this whole season.
and I personally wanted to see that because again, they just have that chemistry because of how long they've traveled. And like I said before, I praise Brock. Brock is a very smart and good trainer, and of course he should be because he's not only is he a former gym leader, but he's a breeder and needs to know a lot when it comes to Pokemon and how they fight and their nutrition and what helps them out. I was
Yeah.
really this if this would have been Brock, I would have been like excited and happy to see because I feel like they would have annihilated them within. But I do like that they put him down because Don is just so eager, man.
hmm
He's very eager. Not only is she a proud contestant, not only is that like her biggest goal, but she's willing to try anything to help herself improve. And
Yeah.
I mean, she does come off as stubborn at times, but I like that she stepped up. She's like, yeah, I'll do this. Like, not even knowing what a tag battle was. But after being explained, she's like, oh, this sounds fun. Let me join in.
And she sends out Piplup as her choice, while Ash sends out Turtwig. So the idea here is Turtwig is good against Krokna, and Piplup is good against Quilava. The two JoJo starters, actually. What do you think about the choice for the twins as Pokemon?
I like it. It if you notice, I feel like their hairstyles also reflect their Pokemon.
Oh, true. Yeah. Now that you
Yeah,
mention it.
and their names are Brian and Ryan, right?
hmm
Know any twins in your life?
Yeah, none of them are named Brian or Ryan.
No. But like, do their names rhyme?
No.
I guess this stereotype of twins having names that rhyme came from. But I guess
I,
it's like I feel like their name should have gone according to their Pokemon because their hairstyles reflect their Pokemon. They could have had like names that I guess resembled their Pokemon, like they did with the Eevee brothers in Kanto. I think their names reflected like their evolutions.
yeah, it's not the most original naming. Like the parent here clearly was running low on ideas when they were born. Um, but that's the only thing I can think of. But they are definitely making up for it with their battle prowess.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I thought it was kind of funny how Ash had to look up what a Kolava was. And
Yeah, that is a weird little moment. He looks it up, and Dawn looks up Krokna, right?
yeah, but I think it was done on purpose, and we'll see why.
Yeah, this battle starts, and immediately it's a mess as Churchwood gets in the way of Piplup as it tries to dodge, and then they are getting annoyed at each other, much like Dawn and Ash, to the point where they start hitting each other with moves. And as they try
Yeah,
using moves on their opponent, we find the cold open of the episode happen here, where they keep pulling each other out of the way so they can't actually use their moves.
it's like Turtwig use Razor Leaf, and Piplup just comes and yeets the Turtwig, and Turtwig,
Yeah.
no, not today. Comes in with a kick. That was just,
It's
oh my
so
god,
funny.
that was so good.
It's a
But do you
great
know?
meme.
Do you know why they messed up?
No. Was there a specific moment?
No. Did you see? Did you notice how they were placed? Ash and Dawn.
No. What about it?
Ash was in front of which Pokemon?
Wasn't he in front of his? Well, like behind his Turtwig?
I don't know, but who the opponent? What opponent was in front of his Turtwig?
Oh, was it Quilava?
Yeah,
I see.
yeah.
So they.
So they didn't. Yeah, they went with the type disadvantages facing
Mm,
each other, and so that's why when Dawn tells Piplup to go, Piplup has to run across to the Kulava, and that's why Turtwig rushes into Piplup, causing this whole motion.
yeah, there's a lot of drama here. Apparently, just because they place each other on the wrong side for this
Yeah,
battle, and unfortunately, this just makes it an easy win for the twins.
Yeah, we've seen at times, Don and Ash just butt heads a lot.
Yeah, again, I don't think this is super organic. I kind of get it because tag battling is new to them, but they've also fought Team Rocket a ton of times, which is pretty similar. So I'm not entirely sure if it's more like, oh, this is an official match. There's also TV crew here recording, and they're not fighting to get a Pokemon back. Is maybe the difference here, where they have to focus on the battle as a legit competition.
I feel it's more Dawn being protective of Piplup because you see right away she gets angry when Piplup gets hit by Turtwig,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, "Hey, why'd you hit my Piplup?" And I like that she refers to Piplup as her Piplup, not just Piplup. And also, when I forgot to mention, I liked how when she saw she was gonna be on camera, she fixed her hair.
Yes,
She saw
and it looked
it
exactly the
looks the same,
same.
yeah. That
That's
was
great.
funny, but yeah, I think it was more Don being like, "Hey, man, what are you doing to my Piplup?"
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen, Don is kind of stubborn headed, and Ash is the same as well. So it just tensions just flared, and it resulted in Piplup and Turtwig fighting themselves rather than focusing on and Cool Lava.
Yeah, so with this loss, they head back to the camp and they're still fighting each other. Turtwig and Piplup start fighting each other again until Pikachu breaks it up with a Thunderbolt, which is the best way to calm down the
Yeah,
situation.
Turtwig was actually extending the olive branch. He's
Mhm.
like, "Hey, you're friends," and Piplup just comes like, "Shit," and just smacks the. Oh man, Piplup is just the star of the show, and it was funny, and I like that how Brock used that example. Like, hey, you see, your Pokemon made up now. Why can't you guys do the same? And how he said when they first started fighting again, he's like, "Oh, look who they take after. They take after both of you."
Mm.
I kind
Yeah.
of like that Brock was the middleman, and he's never biased, regardless of the time that he spent with Ash. He's still like, "Hey, because we're best friends doesn't mean I'm always gonna take your side. I'm gonna tell you how it is, even if you don't like it." And that's one of the things that makes Brock so great because he doesn't say, "Oh, he's my best friend. I should probably take his side." He's always neutral.
Yeah, he holds both of them accountable.
Yeah.
And this ends up working out as they kind of make up to each other and apologize and talk about how they could do better if they try again next time. And immediately they're both determined to fight them again. Which I was like, okay, cool. We're gonna get some resolution here. And as they go off to find Brian and Ryan, what they find instead is that their Krokna and Quilava have been stolen by a jealous Jessie leading Team Rocket because she wanted to get some TV time, but the twins are taking up the spotlight.
Yeah, and Meowth stating earlier on that the reason they have no money is because Jessie spends it all on her costumes and her accessories.
Yeah, because she's pretending to be like a cowgirl in this episode.
Yeah.
So they get the Pokemon back and using Piplup and Turtwig to kind of practice, I guess, for their tag battle. They take down Team Rocket, Seviper and Carnivine specifically. And now that the Pokemon are back, they're like, "All right, we'll challenge you to our 18th straight win." And that's how we jump into the climax of this episode.
Yeah, and they gave us a really, really good battle. And
I thought. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, you had mentioned way in episode 1 the foreshadowing of Soul Silver and Heart Gold. I just it just hit my head, I kind of realized why they chose and Lava. It's I guess they were foreshadowing the games.
Yeah, I want to
They're not
say
in
that.
the national in the Sinnoh decks, are they?
They aren't, but what's
Are they
weird is
catchable in like in post
no,
game? No.
no, they don't appear at all. You have to transfer them in. But what's weird again is that yeah, we had Suicune, also a Gen 2 Pokemon in the last episode, but the games Heart Gold and Soul Silver wouldn't come out for a while after this. So I'm like, did they just know, or was this all coincidence? That like they're thinking, oh, we haven't seen Gen 2 Pokemon in a while, so let's like bring them back here.
Yeah, and it could have been just like, hey, we have these two twins. Just because they look the same doesn't mean they are. We need like a contrast. Like, oh, let's pick opposite Pokemon typings.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with Johto starters, I guess.
Just to mix it up, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I guess because anime is different to the games, it's okay for certain Pokemon to just appear in the anime.
Right, like
It could
maybe
be like maybe their parents were from Johto and
something.
moved
There's like a lot of questions
Sinnoh.
I definitely have about their starters, but in the end, their starters aren't enough to beat Piplup and Turtwig, who work really well together actually in this battle. Each of them covering each other's weaknesses. Like one point, Turtwig uses synthesis to recover its health, and Piplup blocks
Uses the
for it
bubble
so that
thing.
it can do
Yeah,
it.
the
And
bubble.
this is where we see Piplup's new move come into effect, Whirlpool.
Yeah,
So I think the battle kind of ends with Piplup using Whirlpool to trap the Quilava, and then Turtwig using Tackle to hit the Croconaut into the Whirlpool as well. And then I think it ends the finishing blow with Razor Leaf as they're trapped in the Whirlpool, which is like, all right, that's cool. You're showing that Whirlpool can also immobilize Pokemon.
yeah, because I mean, obviously, a real whirlpool would immobilize
Hmm.
somebody.
And in the games,
Mm.
it traps the Pokemon on the
Yes.
battlefield.
That's
So
true.
it's likely a combination of both of those.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's where Brian and Ryan meet the end of their win streak, and they're not like whiny about it. They like shake their hands and they're like, "Oh wow, like you
Yeah,
guys are strong."
they were more excited to start over than
Hmm.
disappointed that they lost, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really likable characters. I thought at first they were gonna be like the typical bully twins, like, these Pokemon
Mm.
suck. They don't compare to
Hmm.
us. No, they accepted their defeat. They weren't like, no, you guys lost the first time. Why should we battle you again? They were like, no, yeah, come on, bring it on. We'll be more than happy to battle you again. I thought that was
Yeah.
cool. They're really good characters.
Yeah, it's nice that they're not like a big antagonist presence. They're just like, hey, we're also trainers and we're good, and we have this one skill that you guys just don't have yet. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Again, not a lot happens. It does establish that we have tag battles as a thing, though some people might already be familiar with them from past seasons. Um, and it kind of brings it back later on, but I don't think it's super necessary for people to watch. What are your thoughts?
I mean, in terms of combinations, I'd like to see them. Just because, there's always the different possibilities of different Pokemon using different moves, and knowing Ash's instinct and battling how he would use a certain Pokemon's move to his advantage. Partner, would it be Brock or Don?
Yeah, I think for me it's because the battle at the end wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, where I'm a little
Okay.
underwhelmed. But you seem to really enjoy the battle.
Yeah, yeah. Every battle has been pretty enjoyable so far, and the camera crew felt pretty bad. They're like, "Hey, we're not gonna show the first loss because that was terrible. Instead, we're gonna show this one because you guys did it. Teamwork."
They don't need to know the full story.
I mean, it's not like,
What they don't know won't hurt them.
yeah, they obviously don't care for the ratings. They decided to choose like just a regular battle instead of showing horrible defeat gone wrong, which probably could have given them more viewers.
Maybe. We'll never know what the Sinnoh ratings are there, but you'll definitely know what our ratings are for this episode. The Champ Twins, episode 29 of Diamond and Pearl. What would you rate this episode, Manny?
I'll give it a 5.5.
Okay.
It was enjoyable, but again, this is like another one you could probably skip. Not feel like you missed out on anything. But I did love Piplup as a character. It was just Piplup is just the star of the show, man.
Yeah, I'd probably give it like a 5. I think it's fine. Like, there's an okay battle, at least in my view, at the end if you want to watch that. Like, we get a tag battle, which I always enjoy seeing, but I think it still could have been executed a little better.
Yeah, and I like that Ash didn't go straight with Pikachu.
Yeah, that is kind of nice. That you don't need to bring in Pikachu for every battle, and
Yeah.
Pikachu might also have a better relationship with Piplup than Turtwig.
Yeah, that probably would have helped too, but I like that. His first choice was Turtwig. And it also helps, I guess, because, with building his bonds more with his Pokemon. Because we saw, was it in this episode that he brings out Staravia as well? Do the quick attack on the balloon?
Yes,
The
to
rocket balloon? Yeah.
get the Pokemon back.
Yeah, so I like that he decides to use other Pokemon other than Pikachu, because obviously against Croconaw he definitely would have had a bigger type advantage. I feel like Pikachu probably would have held its own against Kolava as well. But I like that knowing that there was a fire type, he still chose Turtwig.
Yeah, he was very brave in that regard, or reckless, whichever you prefer here. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. And next episode, we're actually going to dive into Eterna Forest, which is going to be, at this moment, a 3-episode special. So we'll be going into everything that happens there because it feels weird to break it apart. So hopefully that works out and you guys can get through that. But Manny, thanks so much for joining us today on episode 17 of Sights on Sinnoh.
Problem, man. It's always a pleasure being able to do this and listening to everyone else's input. JM, Karina, Brady, and Greg, and yourself as well. I like that there's not one single main perspective. Like, we all have different views, perspectives. Sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative, but that's what makes, I think, this podcast very enjoyable. Is if you have everyone that has just a one-track mind, seeing that everyone has their own different views of episodes, it's a really fun and enjoying time, and helps me learn more about my other co-hosts. So always a
Yeah,
pleasure.
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that the varieties help and kind of refreshes a little bit each episode. And I love that you also have some input sometimes with the subs when you get a chance to watch those.
Yeah, man, this is always a fun time. I'm proud to be a fan of this franchise. I feel like day if Pokemon stops, it'll definitely be heartbreaking.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm glad that dude, it's been thriving for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Totally, yeah.
it's really, I feel like this podcast has also helped reinvigorate my love
Oh,
for Pokemon.
nice. That's
That's
awesome.
definitely a plus.
And if you're listening in and feeling invigorated yourself, you can always watch these episodes that we talk about over on Pokemon.com. So, in case you're new and haven't checked in before, they're actually up there at the moment, and we'll rotate through different seasons. So feel free to check those out. There's also some newer seasons as well if you want to see like Alola and parts of the Journeys season, which is the newest one on Netflix. They actually have some of the episodes on Pokemon.com. So if you're feeling inspired like Manny, there's a lot for you to explore there.
Yes, definitely. I definitely encourage you guys, if you have not yet watched Journeys. I feel like they're doing so many things right with this anime.
Interesting. Okay. With the
Yeah.
newest part that just came out or
I don't
overall?
know, the series in general.
Okay.
XY was my favorite season, but I feel like Journeys is close to taking its spot. I
Gotcha.
just like the whole. People were probably upset that there was no central focus in Galar.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they're acknowledging the vast world that is world and traveling through different regions rather than just being in one region.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Cool.
I like that aspect of it. That like it feels like it kind of does feel like the end for Ash. 'Cause, he's a researcher
Mm.
now, but I like that part. It's like he's learning more about Pokemon, and I think that'll definitely help him becoming a Pokemon master. So if you haven't watched it yet, I definitely encourage you to guys watch the Journey series. I think my favorite part has probably been Darkest Day arc.
Okay.
If you guys play the Gen 8, oh yeah, Sword and Shield, the Darkest Day, you know what I'm talking about. That was, for me, that was a really good arc in terms of characters and just the way it was presented. So I definitely encourage you guys watch Journeys. If you want to go back and watch any other old seasons, do so. They're up on Pokemon.com. And keep coming along with us on our journeys into Sinnoh.
Nice. Let's hear what you did there. This has been it for Sights on Sinnoh. As always, my name is Will, and today I was joined by.
Bye, Manny.
And thanks, Manny, again for coming. We will catch you guys next time, and until then, we'll see you in Sinnoh.
All right, Drifloon, take me up.
Oh no! Read the Pokedex!
Oh no, Will!
Alright, too late. He's gone. Bye.